Hey church, Kelly here. I hope you're doing well. Our daily hope today is Deuteronomy 12. So as you know, Moses is given his final instructions to the Israelites before they enter in the promised land. And actually the structure of Deuteronomy closely follows an ancient Near East covenant treaty. And what that means is that there's a suzerain and a vassal. The suzerain is the more powerful party that is documenting previous events in which they benefited the vassal, who is the lesser party. And the purpose of this would show that the more powerful party was merciful in giving, and therefore the vassal should obey the stipulations that are presented in this treaty. So you can imagine that God is the suzerain and Israel is the vassal. And God is saying, I have done all of these things for you. And as a proper response, I just want you to obey these stipulations. And so we see in chapters 1 through 4, there's a prologue, a historical prologue, and then in chapters 4 through 11, there are general stipulations, and in chapter 12 through 26, there's specific stipulations. And so those specific stipulations actually correlate directly to the Ten Commandments. So we are in chapter 12, which correlates to the first commandment, which says, you shall have no other gods before me. And so that automatically means that there is only one true God who deserves all of our worship, all of our devotion, and all of our response of what he's already done for us. And actually the before word, where it says, you shall have no other gods before me, really meant that you should have no other gods in my presence, you shall have no other gods in preference to me, and you shall have no other gods in competition to me. And so chapter 12 is actually expanding on this commandment, saying you need to destroy all other gods. As you enter into the promised land, you're going to take over these nations, and you need to destroy all other gods. You need to destroy their altars, their temples, never ask why and how they worship, and also rid the God's name from that place. I don't even want them in my presence. And that's what God's saying. And also we see that the way to worship God is with all of us. So you can see in chapter 12, verse 6, God's laying out that I want you to bring all of you, your tithes, your offerings, your first of your flock. And this is a proper response for what I've already done, but also this is my covenant saying this is what I'm going to continue to do as you enter in the promised land. And in the ancient Near East times, a covenant with a suzerain would actually provide protection. And that's what God's saying is I am, and he would, and also bring military force and take over land. And so God's saying, I have your protection, I have your power, and I will drive these nations so you can enter in the promised land. And the Israelites are like you and me, that it's easier to believe something that is visible than an invisible God. And so that's also why he's saying, do not make a covenant with another visible nation. Do not make a covenant or worship another God that is visible, because currently I am invisible, yet I speak to you, yet you want to go for something visible that doesn't speak. And so God is saying that you can trust me because I've already done all these things for you. And so chapter 12 talks about worship. And so getting rid of all of the other idols and gods that may come into our life. And so that could be power, wealth, sexuality, attention, perfectionism, work, whatever it is visible in this world as a god to others can ensnare us if we let an inch into our life. And so God's saying, I want all of you, I want every part of you to remain in covenant relationship with me. And so I want to ask a question. Have you ever noticed that worship to God is directly correlated to freedom? I don't find it ironic that when Moses went to Pharaoh saying, let my people go, Pharaoh asked why, and he said, so they can worship their God. And so God's saying, I set you free so you can worship me. And I know because I created you that when you worship me, you'll become like the thing you worship. But since I'm your creator, I will actually allow you to be your truest self and live in full freedom and flourish. And so I want to encourage you to look at how you worship in every aspect of your life. And is there any area where you don't feel free to worship God in the fullest sense? He has so much more for you, and he's promising that he's already done this for you. He wants you to respond out of what he's already done in mercy and grace in giving us ultimate life. And he's also saying, I will protect you. I will lead you into the land of milk and honey if you don't have these other gods. And so just encourage you to take an inventory of where in your life is your worship not totally free. And so I pray that that encourages you and also challenges you to lay everything aside and give it all to God because he is so worthy and deserving. I also want to remind you that we have our online services that you can check out tonight and tomorrow. And feel free to join us for our 9 a.m. Sunday gatherings at the church with masks and social distancing. We would love to see you there. Much love, church. I hope you're doing well.